Good evening from Washington, D.C., and thank you to those of you joining us from around the world for news from a Catholic perspective. I'm Lauren Ashburn. Amid a sex scandal engulfing the Catholic Church in America, Pope Francis recommends silence and prayer to deal with people seeking scandal and division.
Perché la verità è mite, la verità è silenziosa.
The Holy Father offered the advice yesterday in his homily during Mass at his residence in the Vatican. It appears to be an indirect response to allegations made by Archbishop Carlo Vigano, the former Vatican ambassador to the United States. Vigano claims Pope Francis covered up for the misdeeds of Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, former cardinal, accused of abusing minors and adult seminarians. Vatican correspondent Juliet Linley joins us from Rome. Juliet, the Pope seems to be approaching these accusations indirectly. I recall last week on his flight back to Rome from Ireland, he said he was not going to say a word about the accusation in Archbishop Vigano's letter.
Well, Lauren, in addition to his homily yesterday, the Pope talked about vanity, avarice, pride, and hypocrisy at his Sunday Angelus address. And he said, in quotation marks, a hypocrite is a liar. He is not authentic. Now, many here in Rome concluded that that was a reference to Vigano. And I spoke with a former high-ranking Vatican official who said the Pope's homily yesterday was excellent, indicating to me that the Holy Father, in their eyes, was clearly referencing the former Vatican ambassador to the United States.
And this weekend, we had another letter from Vigano. It was 3 pages and an account of a papal meeting between Kim Davis, a former Kentucky clerk who was jailed for refusing to certify same-sex marriages, and Pope Francis. This happened during his visit here to Washington, to the United States in 2015. What's the latest conflict between Vigano and Vatican officials?
Lauren, it's a question of what the Pope knew and when about the planned meeting with Davis. Now, a New York Times article last week prompted this new Vigano letter. Lauren, the Times quotes Chilean sex abuse victim Juan Carlos Cruz, who also met with the Pope at the Vatican Embassy in Washington, saying that the Pope told him he hadn't agreed to meet Davis and had no idea who she was. Now, this account is disputed by Vigano in the letter, and it prompted him to write it. He says he fully informed Francis of the meeting. He gave the Pope a 1-page memo about it, and he informed other high-ranking papal advisors. Vigano says he also alerted the photographer from the Vatican's newspaper L'Osservatore Romano. Lauren, the letter ends with one of them is lying, either Cruz or the Pope. That's how it ends.
So, no reaction from the Pope on that letter, but the former head of the Holy See press office did react, disputing those claims. Is that right?
Yeah, on Sunday night, former Vatican spokesman Father Federico Lombardi and his assistant put out a statement jointly disputing Vigano's claims about the Pope's meeting with Kim Davis, but there's been no official Vatican response, neither from the Holy Father himself nor from anyone at the press office. Now, as we reported last week, Lauren, Cardinal Pietro Parolin said that the situation is, quote, not worrying and that Pope Francis is at peace, but calls inside and outside the church are intensifying, as we know, and they're asking for some sort of a formal response, as well as some sort of investigation to be launched into these shocking allegations that the Pope lied and that he covered up for former Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, who's accused of sexual misconduct and abuse and having perpetrated it for years.
Juliet, those calls are being heard loud and clear, especially here in the United States. Juliet Linley, EWTN News Nightly Vatican correspondent, thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.